going. Hey.
Hey.
Hey,
welcome
sis.
Hi, I'm Raywyn Pickering, a farmer who does comedy.
And I'm Adrian Pickering, an actor.
And we're sisters.
We sure are. And this is our podcast. It's called Is This a Job? Because we want to find out.
Why are we doing this?
Is this a job? We want to talk to people in the creative industries to find out, to understand
their
how
mental health and how they can keep going. It's really hard. So we're talking to all kinds of people.
And it's really joyful too.
We're trying to find out tips, maybe some nice financial advice when we can.
Yeah. Although you should talk to your accountant too. But anyway.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, just total disclaimer.
Do not follow our
We're
advice.
mostly talking to comedians, so don't follow their financial tips.
God. Please. Even their general life advice. I don't know if we should follow anything.
That's right.
It's interesting.
We want to find out how they
do.
do it, if they love it, how do they get through the hard times?
And to push through.
Have a good old time.
Yeah. So, how was your week? Ada, did you have a fun, fulfilling, creative week?
I know, as you know, I always like to be fulfilled and creative.
It's very uncomfortable
boxes
for me when you use those words.
What about journey?
Gosh.
Creative journey towards fulfillment going.
Yeah. Just want to talk about my legacy.
I just want to feel... Oh, gosh. I just can't believe how shallow you are there sometimes, right? When I talk about that, it's because I just want to feel happy and I want to be on my deathbed and think, yeah, I did the things I wanted to do in my life and I feel good about it.
Yeah.
Doesn't everyone just, I can't believe you don't want that.
No. I mean, I think I'll just feel happy in the moment. I don't need to look back on everything.
Right. Okay. So, yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point.
So maybe it's
okay.
It's good to have a bit of both. Maybe I should.
It is good. You're right.
Look back. But anyway.
Yeah, it's certainly good to be in the moment. Speaking of being in the moment, something that's happened over the last week is I've had a daughter just start school at prep. And
you've got a lot of free time.
I wish. No, I've still got many small children. But something I've been thinking about is she's been really scared and sad saying goodbye.
Oh no.
And it's like triggers all of these things in you. And I've been thinking about like how we have to learn to be brave and to like walk into a classroom because she's just scared of all the things that like I get a bit scared about. Like even walking here today, I was kind of like, am I going to know the pin? Are they going to like me? What kind of stupid things is my sister going to make fun of me for? Will I find a friend there? Like,
who's going to play with me?
But like all these general sort of fears of acceptance and feeling unsure, but doing the thing anyway.
Yes.
And it's interesting.
And hopefully just getting better at it. Like every day. Hopefully
better.
She's just kind of getting better.
Yeah. And talking ourselves into like, it'll be okay even when I say the stupid thing.
Yeah.
I still know that you love me and that I'm a good person and that it doesn't, ultimately doesn't really matter that stuff so much.
Yeah. I guess it builds a good foundation of like your self worth. I guess that you're like, I am a good person and it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your value system. Yeah. And I think,
which I guess is so important.
How to let go and how to love too. Like, so
I was going to say what a segue into being creative because it is all about having a very strong self-worth.
Sure is.
When you're bombing
to do it again and again,
like,
right?
I can't let this phase
They call your name. They, like they say, and here we go, Raywyn Pickering. Yeah, and you just have to walk out on stage, right? You have to hold that mic and walk on stage.
Yeah, to back out now because I'm literally on stage. It would be weird if I ran off. So, hey, how are we going?
Yeah.
It's
life lessons.
Yeah. Well, hopefully your daughter does not pursue anything artistic.
Remotely creative.
We steer her straight into
Maybe
something a bit more.
a really sensible career.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which
like farming.
Like
by
farming.
The way.
Exactly.
How's it going?
Yeah.
Any farming or mostly just riding?
Good week on the farm. Yep, I'm back to milking now, which is
Whoa,
huge
what a
in my
milestone.
world.
How does it feel?
I've had this like crazy fat finger. It's still pretty swollen, but like from when I cut the tendon.
Just as a
so
reminder to everyone, Rowan cut her tendon.
I cut my
It's been a
tendon.
real saga. It's taken a long time.
But now
to
I'm
get
back
better.
on the udder.
Where she wants to be.
On the thing I love. Just one squeeze at a time. I'm
Did you
getting
get fatigue?
stronger.
A bit of fatigue?
I
in the
actually
head?
did, yeah. Because it's like you're not like a hard work, like there's a lot of resistance, but you're working these muscles that like
wouldn't know.
do. Well, you're a mum. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't milk my kids.
You provided milk, you idiot. Oh my God.
Oh, well, yeah. I had a breast pump,
yeah,
I guess.
okay.
For some of it, but they pretty much do it themselves.
Yeah.
My kids did anyway.
Well, anyway, I like to get up in the udders myself and do it. But anyway, so that was my big achievement for the
Milestone.
week. Yeah. Yeah. But it's been good. A good lot of gigs as well and writing and like
Awesome.
trying to
Bit of
get the show
collaboration with some
ready
people.
for this year. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's all looking pretty good. Yeah. Yeah. I've had a good balance of both things, I think,
Nice.
which is nice.
That's
To have both the farming and the creative pursuits, which actually brings us to our guest.
super guest.
Our super guest. Because she is super
Balanced.
and
Super.
to be honest, too qualified for this position. On our
Qualified for
podcast.
several positions.
She if we were interviewing you, you would be like, you're gonna get bored. Like you're too qualified. You've got a PhD. Like, oh my God.
You have
It's
the real
Dr.
stuff.
Yeah.
Dr.
Hi, everyone.
Dr. Prue Blake.
Hi.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Because you are very academically qualified, but then also you haven't been like a stand-up comedian and you've won like a whole bunch of things. You've been on like Upfront and you're on the radio and you're doing all these like creative things as well as being like your day job as a town planner, which is so different.
It's all very different. And I was just sitting here thinking, I think my heaven is actually being invited to listen to a conversation between two sisters and not have to contribute at all. I was like, this is what I enjoy. Wow, the dynamics, the observation. Oh, this is it. Like, I think when I was a little kid, I used to leave my shoes behind everywhere, like when we went over to someone's house.
Yeah.
And I had a real fantasy about going back to collect my shoes and hearing what people were saying about me, or just like
that's so
seeing how they
funny.
lived their
Creepy.
lives.
Yeah.
I've got to know everything. Please let me know.
It's very observational, though.
so
That's
nice.
interesting,
I was
isn't it?
always really-
yeah.
And just, sometimes I don't know if you ever get this, but sometimes you want to know about how people live their lives and you feel almost like an alien for asking these questions. Like I remember I was out with some friends the other day and I don't know why, but I was really trying to get into eating more yogurt. And
You don't know why?
For the gut health,
For the gut,
very
for the
good.
probiotics.
It's
Right,
very
right.
good.
Yeah. And I was just like, do you guys eat yogurt? Like, really trying to be like, how
Starting
do you
a
eat
casual conversation. hey dudes, do you guys eat yogurt?
like ideally you would, and I
we
guess
stand?
maybe this is what social media has done and TikTok and stuff, but like ideally you would film yourself going about your day and how you work yogurt into that day. And I would get to understand.
Yes.
Because I hate feeling like I'm missing out on something. you
Yeah.
know, when you hear someone's doing something late in the game and you're going, years, I haven't known this was an option.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, it feels like this life hack that you just like had no idea that people were doing.
Like,
Because it's also not
yeah.
a real thing until it's on social media, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Then it becomes real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like all those
Exactly.
people have been eating yogurt for years.
Yeah.
Until you make like a 30-second TikTok
they're
like
working their way
video
in.
of it. It
Yeah.
doesn't, it's not a thing.
They were doing that dry yogurt. That
Yeah.
was a big trend on social
Dry
media.
yogurt?
Yeah, they were straining yogurt
sounds
so it was really dry. It looked like eating Play-Doh.
What?
Yeah,
I've never heard of that.
Oh, you'll have to look it up.
Dry yogurt.
Dry yogurt.
Because strange yogurt is really delicious. It's almost like cheese.
Ah.
Yeah, I
so
assume
it's got
this
like
is
a
kind of what it was.
texture
But
to
it wasn't
It was
like
like really
Play-Doh,
dry.
though, too
Oh.
dry.
It was really
It's like
dry.
crossed over to Play-Doh town. Was it blue?
They make it blue.
It might have been Play-Doh.
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't.
Definitely rebranding
I
Play-Doh.
know yogurt when I see yogurt. I've done the research. Yeah. But they put like the blue
crazy.
spirulina in it and then
Oh my gosh.
strain it out and then it's kind of like this thick
Oh my goodness.
puck of yogurt.
Yeah.
We are living exactly what you were talking about before. That we're like, absolutely have not heard of this life hack that all these people are eating dry. Like, I guess
Dried
the
blue
moisture isn't
yogurt.
good for you.
Yeah.
Who knew?
It looks like it would make your mouth so dry,
Oh no.
but maybe in a pleasant way.
yeah. What
How can
is
that
the
ever be in
purpose
a
for it?
pleasant way? It's
Yeah.
like people who like to bite towels. Do you like to bite towels or not?
What?
I didn't.
What do you mean?
Is this
Did
like
you
a-
ever have friends when you were a kid?
That would
And I've
bite
heard-
towels?
Yeah,
Like
I've even
what?
heard like my kids and their friends talking about it.
I think I used
Did you
to
ever
do
have
it
a
as
friend?
a kid.
I had a friend who was a kid who really
remember,
liked the
like,
texture of
biting,
like biting
Like
a towel,
sucking
like
the
a dry
moisture out.
towel.
Yeah, I was about
No,
to
like
say
a
like
dry
wet
towel.
face cloths. I would.
Yeah, there's that too. Okay, that's another textural experience. Sucking a wet face washer.
That's right.
But there's also like biting into a fluffy towel.
No, I don't think.
And
I'd
some
like
people
that.
hate it. Some people really
Oh,
hate the
really?
thought of it.
Squeak
And some
against
people
the
really
teeth?
like it. Like, yes, the squeak, but some people really like that. But other people like, like,
But isn't
too
it
much.
wonderful that we're all different in
Yeah.
how we
Right?
enjoy our textural experiences?
yes.
The dry or wet towels, the yogurts. Wow.
But yeah, sucking the wet face cloth in the shower,
Yes,
that's really unlocked
that's a
a memory
delight.
for
That's
me.
such a
That's
kid
something
thing,
like-
isn't
yeah.
it? I reckon.
I feel like it like helps the flavor of the water in some way.
I agree.
tastes less like wee and sort of like a little bit of soap, a little bit of wee,
Yeah.
like 20% sandpit.
Yeah.
I think this
pro
is
at
the
this.
mum coming in. I don't
Yeah,
think my
like
face cloth
I
tastes like
don't
wee
really
and
go into the
sandpit.
sandpit too much.
I have to say.
No, I think like bars have been ruined for me now as an adult because they're just like
Looking at them like
Well,
gross
yeah.
little like floating
Yeah,
things.
I never
Oh
just
my
have
God.
like an adult bath for
Okay.
the,
Yeah.
enjoyment of it. But
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that was even a thing. That's a beautiful thing to do,
Yeah.
isn't it?
To have a bath, so
yeah, to
good.
have a
I
bath.
I
love
was
a
talking to
bath.
someone and they definitely they have a shower before they have a bath.
Wow.
Because I guess
they
it's what
don't-
you're talking about, that you want that
You
like
want the
nice
sandpit.
Yeah, you don't want the sandpit. You want to get in the bath and be clean and not looking around and like seeing like, I don't know, all this like
You don't want to
kind of debris.
yeah,
You're like,
stew in your filth.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of become a
This
human
is
soup.
real extravagant stuff.
Totally true. I think you can only enjoy the bath like that if you really want to have a nice bath. Excuse me, with a glass of wine. Just
Whoa.
getting,
Yeah.
getting into the vibe.
Wow, you need a wet tea towel. Like dry your mouth.
Speaking
moisture.
some dry yogurt.
That should be a little hack for like
all
when
the
we're doing our
textures.
like comedy festival shows where it's like an hour of talking and you get a bit dry. Like
Yeah.
you're just sucking
Just
a little
sneak
wet
the-
towel instead of a glass of beer. You just go over to your stool, just suck a little.
That would probably
Disgusting.
help because the beer, you always get those little burps. So you have to try and like
hide.
from the microphone.
Yeah.
But the wet towel, no downside to the wet towel.
There is no downside.
No, bring it back.
I guess storage is maybe an issue.
Yeah.
I guess it makes everything else wet, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Like if you put the wet towel on your book,
Yeah.
well,
is
Yeah.
not
can't
Yeah,
read these
no.
jokes anymore.
One of those,
Yeah.
yeah, one
Yeah,
of those
that's
wet
right.
bags. It's a whole thing. You really have to invest.
Yeah, separation.
Changing your
It's really demanding, the wet cloth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it won't be near anything else.
Okay,
Yeah.
but hear me out. Wet cloth and a pint glass.
Oh,
There we
okay.
and then you just kind of
Oh, so you tip the glass and then just like the towel will fall down.
Stuck it through the towel.
yeah. I imagine it really stuffed in, so it's peeking out the top, and then you kind of suckle it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like one
As
of
if
those
it's
little
a
like
teat.
Or if they
swan
could make a
napkins,
Yes.
make
you
a
know, the
straw
Chinese
out of
restaurant.
towel.
Yes.
If it somehow could hold its structural
I think
integrity.
you two are on the same idea.
And then
here.
you
I think the swan
it.
becomes the straw, the swan
Yes.
neck.
Yeah.
I think you've got it.
Wow, this is great stuff.
This is a job.
I cannot
if
believe
anyone was wondering,
we are
that is going to be our
patenting
job.
this
Ren.
idea. Yes.
Yes. I'd love to know how to make the towel swan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like every time I see one, I think I'd like to know how to do that because I think
Yeah.
it's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
But I've never committed
I've never
insofar
learned
as to
how.
even look it up how they do it.
Yeah.
no.
You see, it must be quick.
They must
if
have
they're
a
doing it at
real, like,
hotels.
a real, yeah.
I reckon they
love
get
for their
real
job.
quick at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine someone like, you know when you flick someone with a towel,
Yeah.
but they just flick and it's a
Flick it,
swan.
it's a swan. Yeah.
That is so good.
Whoa. Magic.
Wow.
Not a lot of towel swans in our house.
Really? You're not doing it?
We're not doing
Wow.
Okay.
Your kid's childhood is
Yeah.
Pretty sad.
Pretty sad, isn't it? Yeah,
They
they're
probably
really
don't
missing
even
out.
know
Yeah.
that towel swans
I
exist.
think they do.
It's going to blow their
wonder.
mind one day.
Yeah.
It would blow their minds. They would love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe
But,
let's all
but
learn
then
it.
it wouldn't stop. They'd be like, can you make an elephant now?
Yeah,
like
cow-
it would be,
cow towel.
that's
why
true.
is it always a swan? I want you to just up your game. It never ends.
That is true.
It's true.
Although this towel chat has been
Absolutely
Really relevant.
riveting.
Yes.
absolutely perfect.
Yes.
Prue, what would you describe yourself as on those little like drop downs? This is something that we ask people, particularly people that are in the creative field.
Yes.
But like on those little drop downs that you
Like
like
the
have
census
to
form or
I know the form.
yeah, that
Oh,
you just
yeah.
like you have to describe yourself
occupation.
as this one
Yeah. I mean, I think
What do
it
you
would
go to?
depend on where my self-esteem is, particularly in terms of my creative work.
Yeah.
Common, yes.
But I would say I'd probably go consultant.
Consultant.
Just so vague.
Yes.
And no one ever wants to know more.
No. You know, that's so
No one ever
interesting.
says, tell me a joke.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get into the
Yeah.
comedian thing, and then it's I haven't seen you anywhere, and then you feel bad about
Yes.
yourself.
That has been what, like, that's a through line with a few people we've talked to. They've said, like, admin or, like, general manager or something, or, like, performer, something vague enough. I mean, I
Yes.
guess performer warrants more questions.
Yes.
But, like, yeah, something kind of that you hope that no one follows up with any other questions. Yeah, like, just know that it's boring.
And I think, increasingly cost of living, low wages, people are working 2 or 3 jobs, like
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
It's really hard to define yourself
Yeah.
in one of those categories.
Exactly.
So you do just want the most generic one
Yeah.
possible.
Sort of applies to everything.
Yeah, because I don't want to fill out a
still
form for
kinda
longer
correct.
to make it more accurate.
Yeah.
But it is kind of correct in
It's
a way,
correct.
isn't it?
Yeah, comedy is
Could you
kind of
be a
running your own
comedy
business.
consultant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yes, sometimes you put like self-employed or something.
Yeah.
Like, being a
Yes.
comedian or
Well,
like
you
small
essentially
business
are.
owner.
Yeah.
I own myself. so-
Roman Pickering. Trademark.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm a
Proprietary Limited.
Again, it depends on my confidence. Do I own myself? I don't know.
I own myself. I'm a small business owner. It just turns out the business
Yeah.
not very good.
No, it's still classed as a hobby.
Depends on the day, though. Depends on the day. Sometimes really good.
Sometimes really good.
Yes. Yeah.
The highs and the lows.
And then you have to think, I'm getting taxed on my comedy business. I've lost half. Yes.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Living the dream.
That must mean
That
I'm
is
doing
living
well.
the dream. To pay your taxes. Pay your taxes is living the dream, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what else do you consult with?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm working like kind of a few jobs. Mostly it is around community engagement consulting, which is talking to different communities that are impacted by big infrastructure projects or developments or working with councils on their planning schemes and talking to the community to understand the lived experience of people that are going to be like affected by the things that are being planned.
Oh.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I hate it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think
sucks,
it's
though.
one of those jobs, and it's been like every job I've ever done, where the theory of it is so promising and it feels meaningful and it feels impactful, and the reality is so depressing because you can't achieve any of that.
Yeah, there's just so much red tape
There's
and everything.
so much red tape, and so much of what you do just sits in a report that
like an
nobody ever
episode of
looks at
Utopia,
again.
but
Yeah, it's
it's like
very
that's your
Utopia.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that sort of life.
Yeah, living that is really depressing. I guess.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
because
just
it would just grind down all of your like fantasies of like, oh, I can make a difference and like I've got all these fresh ideas, and then they just like pound you down.
Yeah, and you kind of give up some financial gain to do something meaningful, and then to be like, this isn't even.
Is it actually meaningful?
Yeah, is it
If
actually
you can't do
meaningful?
the thing you're really trying to do. It's
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
like some kind of lip service.
And you really have to, because you're an intermediary, so you have to try and remain impartial between the client who is paying you and that you are working for and the community that often have a very different view from what the client wants.
Yeah.
So you're just fighting on both ends because the community view is the client and the client view you as this kind of person from the community that's going against what they wanted.
sort of like you're no one's friend.
You're no
in
one's
that
friend.
situation.
Yeah. You're like a third, the middle child.
It's like starting school all over again.
Yeah. You're like, Sarah said that she'd really like. Well, Tim said he hates your guts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's an interesting job.
yeah.
You cover a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. But so you went to uni for like as a town plan. Is that a degree? That's
Yeah, I
like-
did a
yeah.
Bachelor of Regional and Town Planning at the
Oh.
University of Queensland.
So how did you get how did that become your path? Like how was
Oh, do you know what? And I mean, this is a problem I'm kind of struggling with now. I think as a teenager, I just had very little passion for anything.
yeah.
Like I was kind of in school, I was just kind of like an okay student,
good.
but
Yeah.
like wasn't really trying at anything, didn't have anything I really enjoyed doing. And then when you finish school, I mean, you're both from Queensland as well. You get that QTAC
Yeah.
book to apply to university.
Yeah.
And I went through it with my parents and they're like, what do you want to do? And I couldn't think of anything. And they said, so let's go through and cross out everything you don't want to do. And we crossed out almost
quite a
the whole
good
book.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good way of doing it.
Yeah. And
Start with a
then
nose.
Start with the
Yeah.
nose because there's a lot of no's. There's a lot
Yeah.
of jobs
That's
where you're
true.
going.
There's a lot you just rule straight out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you're kind of going, I haven't really set myself up. Because I've all the way through school, I kind of thought I wanted to be a doctor. Well, I am a doctor now, but like a real one.
Like a
Like a real-
like a
one with a
medicine
stethoscope?
one.
yeah, like a
Or-
medical doctor.
Yeah.
But I'm quite squeamish
Oh, yeah.
when it comes to blood.
Don't you just get over that when you, or are you
guess I never-
really squeamish?
I
Guess
think
there's
I
a line,
could
but-
deal with someone in an emergency. I think I would be fine in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. I think you'd be good at it. You're just like very kind of calm. Like,
Yeah, I think I would
you'd
be
You
calm.
seem quite calm.
yeah.
I'd quite like to go and see you. as a GP.
You'd listen to
mind
the
being a
problems.
GP.
Yeah.
I'd love having a little chat.
Yeah.
Oh,
Get the goss.
Yeah. All right, what's been happening?
Yeah.
Divorce.
Yeah. That's pretty much all
on
it
the
is.
chart.
Writing down the notes of divorce, what the gossip is. Yeah.
You've written
Yep.
down no medical
Prescribing
notes.
a few dry yogurt.
Yeah, some dry
prescription.
yogurt. Oh,
Yeah.
you're tired all
Yeah.
the time. I
Yeah.
understand. Me too.
Yeah.
That's really good at it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just didn't.
Yeah, well, it's so hard because you have to make those decisions in year 10 sometimes, or even earlier,
In terms
because
of
you need
choosing
to
the
do.
subjects.
Yeah, exactly. You need
Yeah,
to do
right.
those sciences and set yourself up. So,
But
yeah.
never too late. You can
Oh,
always like
you could always
get to
do
uni
those
and then
bridging
swap.
and-
But
yeah,
I
that's
think
very
like you
true.
need the drive, don't you?
You
Because
need the drive,
it's like
and you
hard, all that
need the
work. It's a
rich
lot
parents.
of work to go to uni. You need
Yeah.
rich
Yeah,
parents.
well,
these
particularly in medicine, it's like 7 years.
Yeah.
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 Of like extreme
Of really
full
hard
time that
work.
you
You can't-
possibly
yeah.
work otherwise. So
Yes.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
doing other
There's
jobs all
so
through
much
uni.
studying
Yeah.
involved. The friends
So
that
much
I've had
study.
who've gone through it. Yeah.
And you finish
Yeah.
school and you just think 7 more years?
Oh.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Hard to imagine, isn't it?
Yeah. And architecture
drive
was the
to
other
do
one
it.
I was looking at. And that's also 7 years. And you're going,
Is it the same
Yeah,
amount of
you
time
have
to be
to
an
kind of-
architect as a doctor?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's interesting.
I think
Well,
you
they
do-
are designing like houses,
Yeah, and-
bridges, or
and you
things
want them
that
to
we
be-
live
design
in.
people.
Like,
So
that's God, right?
pretty sure. Well, okay. We're gonna have a big talk.
Really existential.
This is going in your chart.
Disclaimer. Atheist.
Your chart is just believes conspiracy theories.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but you want a building to be able to stand up.
Yeah.
So it takes a while. I think you do like a 4-year undergrad, and then you have a year off where you have to work.
I was going to say
And-
probably a big part of it is in practice.
Yeah, you have to
like,
do practice, but because it's
like
kind
being a
of
doctor is too.
mandated for the profession, you get paid about $20,000 a year
Yes.
to do that interim
Yeah,
year, and then you have to do a
yeah.
master's, and then you're an architect.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's like all apprenticeships, isn't it? It's really
Yeah.
hard to see the end.
The end.
Yes.
Because you're not paid very much.
No.
But it's so important in those to do it, to get the qualifications. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you don't end up being the great thing. Like,
Yeah.
I've got a couple of friends who are architects or doctors.
They did it.
They did it, and their life seems pretty good from the outside. Yeah. I'm kind of jealous that I didn't go
Should
down.
have
the
committed.
Should have done a few years of uni and like chosen a non-arts degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so hard.
But not
when,
every day, I think.
You know,
Yeah.
you're at.
But-
You've just finished school, you're going to uni, you're working a part-time job,
Yes.
and kind of imagining like, you want me to wait 7 years before my life maybe starts to
yeah.
become my own again?
Yes.
I just couldn't face it.
No.
So, but you went to uni and you did the town planning
4 years.
because it was the only thing not struck off the list.
Yeah,
pretty
and
much.
my parents wouldn't let me do an arts degree.
Oh,
yeah.
so do you think is that what you were leaning towards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been a much easier
Yeah.
kind of decision to do
Yeah.
an arts degree.
Oh wow. Have you talked to them like since
Have
then?
you talked
of,
to
like,
them in the last 10 years?
No, I just
We're
wondered-
out of
Should we not talk about this? Is there a restraint?
No, I just mean if that like I wonder if that's something that was like they just thought it would be easier for you to like get into something, and now they see you
Yes,
actually
I'm
doing this like creative thing and being like successful.
Yeah, it's like a
Parents
like-
always want the best
Well, yeah.
for their kids,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was driven by
Now
a
it's
need
like a
to have
gotcha, went into the arts.
Yeah, that's it.
All these
Yeah.
Found a
these
backdoor
practical
in.
degrees
Yeah.
didn't help me that much.
Yeah.
I think my parents just knew, like, you know, they're fine, they're kind of middle class, but they didn't have the money to support me or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, that, other people seem to be able to have from their parents. And so I think they're like, we've got to be able to do something.
Yeah.
More
That's-
sensible.
that's
like
sensible.
That's kind of
Yeah.
middle of the road that won't have an enormous HECS debt, that you can still work a part-time job and do the uni
Yeah.
degree and finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
Well,
yeah,
it
it was
makes
like
a
very
lot of
practical
sense.
advice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
neither of
Pretty
them
good advice.
went to uni when they were young. My mum went back and did her degree when my brother was born. So she was in her like
Oh, wow.
mid-30s.
Oh,
And then
gosh.
went through and did a PhD. So she
Really?
studied for my whole
as a
childhood.
like mum of like a young
Yeah. That's
Wow.
a mum of
Amazing.
two, did all of her degrees, and now
So
she's a lecturer.
she had a lot of drive.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in terms of, I guess, choosing a career and something she was passionate about.
I guess eventually.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
it's
mean-
true. So it sort of found it later in life.
Found it
or-
later. So I think,
Yeah.
you know, 20s just kind of doing
Yeah.
admin roles. And my dad worked with her dad in kind of like a small welding business and then started his own business. So she did the books for that. It's just kind of, you know, smaller jobs. So then they were really like, well, you have to get a degree. And they'd been sold this story that, you know, you get a degree and then you get a good job and then you have
Yes,
money, which I
definitely.
don't think works anymore.
Yeah.
Ironically, I followed their advice.
You
Don't
did your
really
best.
feel like I'm in a hugely better situation for it.
Well, it's interesting because it doesn't take into account like what we talk about is like what would be fulfilling or like what's your
Yeah.
passion and what do you want to your feelings of being happy doing what you're doing. Which hopefully if you're happy then maybe the money will come later. But I mean obviously
Yes.
that's a real jump in
Gamble.
the dark and you're like this could be a cliff.
Some days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's really
I
finding
don't think
the balance.
there's obviously a right answer. There's not a
so
there's
this
not
balance
one way to
thing.
go. You're trying to obviously you need to eat.
Yeah. Because you're going,
It's not
I don't think if I optimize my work life to just make as much money as possible, that would make me happy. But yeah, sometimes I've tipped too far the other way.
It's true though. And this is the thing, isn't it? It's like all of the passion in the world and the joy doesn't sometimes equal just like being able to put a roof over your head and not more than that though. I mean, like just not have to stress about finances and like have to move home all the time or just to live with that sort of inconsistency that having not much financial security brings. It's just sort of a stressful place to be. So even when you're living your best life and like finding passion in what you do, that's not ideal long term, is it? Like it's kind of fun maybe for a while.
Yeah.
I think that's the point I'm at now, where it was really fun, love doing comedy. Like you feel like you're getting somewhere, you're doing it all the time. And now I'm going, worked like 7 days a week for about 8 years or something. You're going, I just can't.
I'm pretty tired.
I'm pretty tired.
I want to sit down for a little bit.
I would love to spend my money on just like a normal person holiday. Like sometimes I'll see a girl just kind of going to hot yoga in an evening after a corporate job, and I feel so deeply envious of her.
Because you just go from one job, you have to go home quickly, like have something to eat, and then you're getting out to another
Shower
gig.
off the go
Yeah, exactly.
Go.
And the trade-offs you have to make. Even my consulting work now, I work from home, and I was working in an office for a while, but it was so hard to kind of lose those extra 2 hours to travel in, travel out.
So you could go to a gig afterwards.
Yeah, because you want to go to a gig afterwards, and then that hour puts you back, so then you're coming back. You have to try and make dinner in an hour before you have to leave again at 7 to go to your gig.
Yeah, it's a real logistics juggle.
Yeah, it's a real logistics struggle. But now I work from home and you're going, oh, that's kind of lonely in its own way. You know, I always used to like working in an office. I'd walk around my first corporate office.
Social for the goss.
So social. I feel like I'd spend my whole day being like, hey, how's it going? What you doing?
I've never even worked in a place like that.
Really?
Do people really like, there's that water cooler gossip thing? Is that
So
really a thing?
much.
Whoa.
And it'll be like a lot of
gags.
kind of maths chat or whatever the popular reality TV show. Like everyone's deep diving on that. You all become obsessed. A lot of personal gossip. And like apparently
you would just become very involved.
you become very involved with everyone.
Yeah.
Good comedy material though, no?
Yes, sometimes.
No?
I feel like it
Just
becomes
makes
almost
me feel
too
like it's an
insular.
episode of The Office.
Yeah,
Maybe that's just me.
I think you're very invested at the time, but I don't know if it would be
It doesn't
something
necessarily
external
translate.
because
Yeah.
Because they're real people. And they're your friends.
And it's messy and the storylines never quite wrap up.
It's sort of long and boring sometimes. And a little bit creepy maybe
You're
some
back with
days.
them. It's off. It's off. Sad week.
Back on.
Back on. And sometimes you get in that place where you're kind of like, oh, the relationship's down. Should we go for a drink at lunch? And then, oh, it's back on. Let's go for a drink at lunch. But like it is fun to have work friends. And, my first job, they used to have, Friday afternoon drinks that would start kind of at 4 p.m. and they would open up the drinks fridge. You could have whatever you want. Yeah. And apparently, even after I left, I became a legend at that office for being the first kind of graduate town planner they had that would drink a bottle of white wine every Friday and say it was because they weren't paying her enough. Just get drunk and be like,
confidence.
Wow, that is confidence. Yeah.
They don't pay me enough anyway.
Swigging it from the bottle.
And I loved being exposed, because I was maybe just 20 or 21 finishing uni, because you finish high school at 17 and then I went straight through the 4 years and I started working in my last year of uni. So I was 20, I think. Wow. And then you're kind of exposed.
So young, right? Straight into the corporate world.
I mean, straight in. My job was like the biggest corporate firm for town planning.
Oh, wow.
So they were like the most kind of scary.
Oh, you were really good at it then.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me. I mean, the way you talk about it, you seem like someone I'd want to plan my town.
Calm, a bit of rational thinking.
I'll give you a reference if you like.
Okay.
It doesn't surprise me. It seems like, in a way, It seems like you'd be really good at it. It's a shame it's not fulfilling.
Yeah, it's just like, the bureaucracy around it. And I mean, it gets really hard sometimes when you work in an industry that's all about developing properties and you can't afford one.
Yeah.
Where you're going, it's so nice making all these homes for other people.
Yeah.
You can't even afford one with a proper job.
Yeah. It's like it's something even on,
messed up,
a
isn't
pretty
it?
good salary, like $100,000 a year, it'd take
Yeah.
So long.
And
you're
so
still
long to save a deposit.
paying it off for decades and decades,
Yeah.
until you're retired.
Well,
And then, you're a town planner, you know too much.
Yeah.
You're like, that area's
well, I can't buy there.
Yeah, can't buy there, can't buy there. That's going to get built out.
Sometimes it's best not to know,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I think it would be nicer not to know. I think it would be a much
interesting.
happier life.
Yeah, you have all these little secrets of like each suburb. Like if someone was to say, "Oh, I live here," where you like secretly like, "Oh, okay, they don't have I don't know,
Interesting choice.
like very good shrubbery or something." I feel like I've talked,
like
you've talked about the green, something about greening.
yeah.
I've honestly forgotten.
the
But there
world.
was something about there's a certain
like-
amount of greenery or something, and it help. Yeah,
Makes us feel good.
you can feel free to like take over
Jump in.
whenever.
I love how you're
Anything I'm
explaining it.
saying is making sense. But you said it in such a I can't even remember. But all the different canopies of
You want
of
street heat
greening.
coverage, and that stops like
Yeah.
heat island effects, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
known to improve mental health if you live somewhere with better access to parks and greener suburbs,
Yeah.
and it helps people, feel happier and increases walkability. So
Yeah.
it does have a lot of impact.
Seems like a no-brainer.
Oh,
It does seem like a
Yeah.
no-brainer. I mean,
I can remember when
There's the
in
hay
the
fever
times where
problem.
we've been house hunting, like we would always base our decisions of the neighborhood if we weren't so familiar with it on how many shopping trolleys were just like left abandoned on that corner or that street. If there were a lot of shopping trolleys left abandoned, it was probably a sign that like it wasn't going to be the best neighborhood.
it might be like more of a transitory neighborhood
Yeah,
than
exactly.
a family neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of signs like that.
Yeah.
I live in a suburb, and I mean everything comes with a cost that you wouldn't expect. I live in a suburb that has really beautiful kind of wide vegetated strips in the median strips in the middle of the street.
Oh yeah.
And they're just exclusively used for dumping hard rubbish on.
Oh no.
Like there's
Yeah,
a couple
right.
of community gardens,
I was going to
Yeah.
say.
and they're mostly hard rubbish.
Oh.
It's not like
Man.
those beautiful like summer memories I have of like riding down Canning Street and just seeing people picnicking and having wine on those median strips in the
having a
Biggedale.
party.
Yeah,
Yeah, those ones are more well maintained. The ones in my suburb.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
Not so much like that.
Yeah, but so I mean, there's
Yeah.
definitely elements of town plummeting I still
That is
enjoy.
useful. Yeah.
and find interesting, and the
Yes.
theory is so interesting.
It's just not being able to actually execute the ideas.
Yeah.
It seems like it's just the
Yeah.
drudgery of it.
Or it's
Like,
a
it just
lot
grinds
of-
you down.
Yeah, kind of poorly cheap apartments that are being
Oh,
built
yeah,
quickly that you have to argue for.
Yeah.
That gets a bit. You're kind of like, well, this doesn't feel like I'm making our cities better places.
Yeah.
This, I guess,
Yeah.
the housing
So
helps.
hard.
but-
So what led to the comedy then? How did
Yeah.
you get from
Like
going into this
doing
big
this
corporate, like big successful town planning?
yeah.
Big successful
Really
town planning. My first job,
enjoying
I
the
was
free
paid
drinks,
like
enjoying being
$42,000 a year.
Which is quite a lot
Yeah.
though when
Is
you're
it?
like graduate
Well,
though.
For a graduate?
As a first
Oh, well,
I feel
when
like
you're 20.
I feel like everyone around me was
Yeah.
graduating onto these like 75,000 a year salaries.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, got a long way to climb.
Yeah, that isn't actually much for if you've just gone through a degree. I remember when I'd finished school, I didn't have a degree. I was just doing a retail job, but it was about 50 50,000
Hmm.
a year.
Yeah, I think I would have made more if I'd stayed working at Coles than when I transitioned
that's
into
such a bummer.
your first corporate job.
But I think that's the thing. But then there's no like,
I guess
there's no
progression.
progression in those jobs.
Yeah.
So that's the temptation is like people
So-
stay in those jobs because
Yeah.
even if you're, say, you know, whatever, electricity apprentice or something, it's the same. Like you hardly
You
make
have
anything.
to think about what's ahead.
But then as you get better and you get more skills, then ultimately like 10 years time, you're much better off.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess. That's sort
I
of
think
like
that's
the thing
the
you've got to
theory.
hold on to. It's the same with a job in the creative arts, right? Like just keep going for
As long
10
as you
years.
can hold on
Like,
for those 10.
right, and then you'll have a career. Well, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was your first like kind of glimpse into like, well, I guess you already had those niggling feelings if you wanted to do a Bachelor of Arts anyway, but like what was your first kind of idea of, I think I actually really want to get in front of people, or I want to pursue
The writing
this.
or the, what was it about
For
the comedy?
me, it never felt like a choice. It feels like something I've just slowly fallen into and let take over
interesting.
my life
Awesome.
without kind of actively
Yeah.
wanting, which is maybe what I'm struggling with now.
Yeah.
Where if I'd had that time of being like, I really want to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be different. But I was doing the corporate job and I was just bored.
Yeah.
Like, it just wasn't enough work. And I was kind of like found myself being kind of the class clown for everyone in my surrounding cubicles.
Yeah. With your
'cause
bottle of wine.
not wanting to do any work.
Yeah.
Or like go back to my little checklist spreadsheets where I have to argue for a development that I didn't like. So I would just kind of like make jokes and do stuff that way. And I never I didn't even watch heaps of comedy as a teenager or anything.
Yeah.
Like, my parents really liked Monty Python and Fawlty Towers and things like that.
Yeah.
So I
we grew up
naturally
with
Yeah,
a lot
with
of
a
that
lot of the
sort
British-
humour too.
So I naturally rebelled.
Yeah.
I was like, I find this terrible. I was like, I don't care for it.
Yeah.
Because like that's the thing my parents are watching.
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
like, ugh.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
what did you gravitate towards? Like what were you consuming artistically? If it wasn't like the British, because I feel like that was definitely growing up. It's a lot of the British shows.
It was for us, but not for everyone, I guess.
Well, that's sort of
Oh,
I'm
sorry, that's
interested
what,
in. Yeah.
that's what your point was.
Yeah, that's
Well made, Raymond. Well made.
I
point.
mean, I've always been a big reader, so I was always reading.
That's very true.
books.
You read like you go through so many books.
I go through
It's
so many
really-
books.
Yeah,
It's very
impressive.
It's a costly hobby.
Wow.
Yeah.
But so did you think like being such a good reader, thinking like I want to do this, I want
Be
to
a
write.
writer?
It's like
I didn't think it was
do a
possible.
creative writing.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
you just
that
didn't
was
see it on the horizon as a job.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't think that was possible for someone like me.
Ah,
Like
man.
I was like, oh, magical other people
Yeah.
write these books. Or, like
Yeah.
it would never have occurred to me that I could have done it.
Yeah.
Until later on.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
Wow.
they're just people.
Wow.
Like I think I thought,
So do you think if you had have had a teacher or something, I don't know, in high school, that
Yeah,
would
I
have been like,
was-
your writing is so great, you need to do a creative writing
oh,
thing?
yeah, I think that would have really helped.
Yeah.
But I was like a B English student, kind of only ever really got like middling feedback.
Yeah.
Like was never had anyone say like, oh, you're such a good writer. Or
It's so formative, I think, that time, isn't it? When we're sort of like,
Yeah, if you're not encouraged or
Yes.
like if you didn't have someone there to be like, I can see you actually really like this and you're like give you a few little tips on how to proceed.
Yeah,
like
what-
maybe if it was like, you know, only a middling, but knowing you, it wouldn't take much to excel to the next level. Like if you put your mind to it.
yeah.
yeah. I don't
Well,
know.
we often talk about how like we were really encouraged to pursue all of those kind of creative things or
Yeah.
anything really, not just the creative, but it was especially creative
Yeah,
in
it
our
was
family.
especially more creative.
But like to
I
really
kinda think to the
follow your
detriment.
passion and what you sometimes maybe. I mean,
like
it was
these
a
people
very
shouldn't have
creative-
been. I think they probably could have got a
a
better
proper
job.
job.
Yeah,
Oh, you got a proper job.
yeah, yeah.
But
Strong
not all of
hands.
us. Strong
get
milk
those
and hands.
Yeah, working back
Such
up.
a practical job, actually.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
practical. But no, but I guess I often think about that. And
Yeah.
just, you know, our parents were teachers and
Maybe having that
just having that real encouragement to keep doing. I mean, they weren't always like, you're amazing at this, or it wasn't like that. Not. It was a bit modest.
Yeah, very much poking fun of
very much poking fun and like keeping you sort of bit of like tall poppy, kind of keeping you
definitely
very grounded, a very grounded upbringing.
Yeah,
but was so supportive of anything we're interested in, and
that's nice.
So.
That sounds nice.
Even though we grew up in this small country town, we've all ended up being like, we have a brother who's a musician. Well, like all of our brothers are musicians, and like Raymond's in comedy and I'm an actor. And like, but I also grew up not really thinking it was a possibility at all.
Definitely.
And had an amazing drama teacher, I think. So I think that
really
was the difference. You really kind of said like, it is something you could do and you're really good at it. And then.
So you weren't even writing in like your spare time?
No.
Wow. That's so fascinating because I mean, spoiler alert, and you're writing a novel now.
Yeah, finally.
So that's so
like 15 years later.
And how does it feel?
I guess I could give it a go. I think I still feel a lot of imposter syndrome with it. Yeah. We're like, why are you doing this? This is terrible. Well, I mean, your ideas are garbage.
Isn't that all writing?
Yeah, I think so.
I was going to say, isn't that all creative fields? You're like, definitely. Like, I don't think I should be here.
How dare you think you have anything to contribute?
Oh my God, I can't believe we all think that. It's just ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then, you read so many stories, and I love so many different stories from different types of people. It's not that there's one sort of magical person where they work.
Where they're really confident. And then like only the confident people can write good stuff.
I think they'd probably write the shittest stuff. This character that just like succeeds at everything and is an art legend.
I do not want to read
has
that.
no self-awareness or kind of internal demons to battle with.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't probably gravitate to that story.
It reminds me of a few assholes I know, I think.
I think it's more common in acting.
Yeah. Maybe, but they certainly have demons. Yeah. I guess that's the interest. Well, that's what I would find interesting. Tough on the outside, confident on the outside, but
they've lived a hard life
and insecurities. And I mean, it's they're all fields that really prey on your insecurities.
Yeah, they
can in a lot of ways.
They attract a lot of softies, don't they, too, sometimes?
Yeah, you're so sensitive.
Yeah.
And I was talking about this somewhere else the other day, and it's kind of like the rise of social media, and it's put your work out, put your work out, put your work out. It's like so fundamentally misunderstood in a 1 minute clip.
Yeah.
Not even 1 minute. Yeah. Isn't it like 15 seconds or something?
Yeah,
like if you look at the analytics of like, we put these beautiful clips together, which is so funny, but like beautiful. They're so beautiful and so funny. Okay. Well, our guests, not us, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Like, and then you click on like the analytics and it's like the
is
most
so good, but like 45 seconds or something. But like people on Instagram watch 7 seconds or something. And you just go like, who are these people? I mean, they're you, I guess.
They're us.
People listening, they're us. They're us. I guess we're all doing it. We're all living in this world where it's just a 7-second feed and like I don't know.
Onto the next thing. And it's just like quantity over quality. You're like, absolutely.
We're just a little distracted, I guess, when we're on those platforms.
Seems time poor.
So it's sort of like we've just got to get to the really good thing before Raywin to get here because she's always late. So I'll just like watch this, like I'll just scroll through rather than going like, I'm going to thoughtfully like consume this interesting 45-second clip.
Increasingly impossible to thoughtfully consume. It's kind of discouraged.
Thoughtfully consume to be thoughtful is discouraged.
It is. Yeah. Because it's all quick. And, to thoughtfully consume, I'd have to go, I love what Raywin's been saying lately. I have to go find Raywin's page, tap into the clips, navigate to them. Consume them, not be distracted by the other banners that are popping up on the phone. So like it's kind of, it just is so much less friction.
Set up for that.
To just not for me. Oh okay. Not for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Does it make us any happier doing it like that or anything?
I don't think it makes us
doesn't,
happier.
does it?
No, I think there's several studies.
We're just like all addicted.
Like, actually, it's really not good for us.
Yeah, it's a
Number one
rhetorical
thing,
question.
it
But I
doesn't
just mean like,
do.
why are we all doing it? Like, why doesn't everyone just turn off their social media? Like, because you can't
Yeah,
live
you can't.
in a vacuum.
Yeah. Yeah. But then it's so funny, the friends that have turned it off, or even myself that doesn't check it very often,
Yeah.
you do find yourself like in a way disconnected from other people because everyone else is sharing these things or this brand new news, you know, of significant life events, and you're just not there. You're not like, you're not seeing it. You're not a part of it. And so then it kind of makes you more in a way isolated, even though that's the opposite of what you're trying to do. You're trying to connect more to what's happening right in front of you.
Yes.
But you're missing out on like
think-
loved ones as well. Like you're really good
Yes.
friends that you just haven't, like you don't see these things.
You know, that
from.
is something kind of sad about it. I feel like that
Yeah.
because I don't do it.
Yeah.
And I do miss out on that stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I think I missed out on parties. But, you know, then people just stop inviting you to
yeah.
parties as you get older anyway.
I don't really want to go to the
Yeah.
But it is interesting.
But
I
then you
think
also
it does
know
force you to call
That
people
you're
more.
in talking about parties, but you're also not aware of all the parties that you weren't invited to. So then you don't have FOMO of anything.
Well, that's true. Whereas you see, like, oh, there's all these photos
Look
of the
at
party
them.
that I wasn't invited. Look at those guys.
Look at the invited people.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, you know, I definitely still engage with it, but I do find it's made our attention span shorter for what's
Yes.
happening to
Oh,
our friends as
absolutely.
well. Like I've been kind of surprised. You know, I'm getting married in a few weeks.
Ah, congratulations.
Yeah. But like the amount of people that I'll tell about it, and I feel like I'm talking about it all the time. I'm talking about it on stage, and like it's kind of like a consuming thing. And
It's
like,
a big thing.
I didn't know you were getting it. I didn't know you were engaged.
Yeah.
And you're like, I guess it happened a year ago, and
Yeah.
you don't have an attention span for something
Yeah.
that happened.
If you just
Oh, right. So like
weren't-
friends have forgotten about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
If you didn't check your phone that one weekend, then like
Yeah,
maybe
it's all
people missed
gone.
that post.
Yeah.
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 Which I mean, would be hard to do.
think
Great
it's also,
engagement
like-
on an engagement post. You got a lot of likes.
Yeah.
I guess it depends.
Gotta milk it.
How much you're engaging with your community on a like person to person basis, and how much of it is spent like with people in other cities and various things. But I guess like I've just learned to message most of the people that I really care about who live in other cities, to message them and ask how they are,
Yeah.
rather than checking all that stuff. Because
Yeah.
Well, one of my best friends the other day, she sent me, just yesterday maybe, she sent me an email out of the blue with her review for the movie In Time, starring Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. And it was just so delightful to just get an email with some thoughts. That was just for you.
Yeah.
You're like, this is fantastic.
Just in a
why did we let this
trying
go?
trying to catch up and share something like very intimate as well. It's not for everyone. This is just a little
This is
email.
just my thoughts.
I can't remember the last like personal email I
It was
got.
so fantastic.
It's just cluttered.
It's just
with-
trash.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people trying to sell you things, and just someone
Yes.
going, here's what I liked, here's what I didn't like.
Yeah.
Yes. And just general things.
Yeah,
like
just-
not even a personal email, you know, it's like some company just
Yeah,
giving you some general
absolutely.
information that
Yeah.
actually doesn't even apply to you.
Yeah.
It's just so annoying. Just
Yeah,
like
this
wasted
is
all your time. You're like, this doesn't even apply to me.
Yeah.
Why have you sent me this?
Yeah, this is
I feel like
tailored
this
to
is-
my
Yeah.
interests.
Yeah.
This is,
Oh, that's so
it
nice.
was really like,
Yeah.
It comes back to like time though, doesn't it? Like time and focus
Yes.
that it's taken for someone to write that and to think about you and to write those things. And then also for you to absorb it, you know.
Yeah.
and
It
I
was like-
replied, let it be known.
And you replied, yeah.
With your own
the
thoughts?
other
Did
thing.
you?
My own thoughts.
Did
yes.
you? Had you already
I've not
seen it? Oh,
but
okay.
I don't know. We were kind of talking about, you know, it's all about find this new relationship, and then the woman gets sick and she dies, or I don't
Yeah.
think that's a spoiler. I
Yeah.
don't think they're they're leading that part
Yeah.
of
It happens early on.
it. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. But I think it's in the trailer. Like, you know,
Yeah,
she gets sick
okay.
in the trailer.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
assume she
Yeah.
dies.
Right.
I don't know. But it's kind of like,
Who knows? Maybe
yeah.
she dies. Maybe she
I
doesn't.
don't know what happens. Yeah.
Nobody
After
knows.
you're gone.
Yeah.
But you kind of assume like the perfect relationship it has to end in death, or like there's this sort of narrative of that through so much of like romantic media. So we were kind of talking about, does it really, is that best case scenario?
Yeah, right.
You know, does that make the love more beautiful to lose it earlier rather than let it fizzle out over time?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about on email.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, during my consulting days.
Yeah.
Finding some meaning wherever you can.
Yeah.
Some meaning, just thinking, being a bit thoughtful.
Yeah.
Not operating to the pace of like, no.
Yeah. That's good though.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
It's rare.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So back to
answer the original question,
so you started like exploring comedy like after was it when you moved to Melbourne? Yeah. So why did you move to Melbourne?
to do my PhD,
Oh right. Yeah.
and I had a job in placemaking, which was a more creative side of town planning. So
Yeah.
it was all about.
So you
know,
were still trying to make the town planning work, even though
Yeah.
you weren't feeling great about
Fully
it. You were
passionate
like,
about it, but
I
you're
thought I
like,
was
this
just in
is
the
a good
wrong-
thing
Yeah.
to pursue.
stream of town
Yeah.
planning. I still like cities.
Makes
I still
sense.
like places.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, I'll go into the side that's more about events and the soft touches and the things you add. Greenery, markets.
That's interesting. Yeah.
That sort of thing. And then I started doing my PhD, moved to Melbourne, didn't know anyone. It didn't really relate to the people that I went to school with that had moved to Melbourne that were much more kind of like,
corporate-y or like
I'm very alternative.
Oh,
I'm like,
okay. Yeah, right.
I'm moving to Melbourne because I'm a capital A artist. You know, like, they're really on that path.
Yeah.
And jokes on them. Now they're all corporate and happy.
So they got
tables
off
have
the big
turned.
A artist
got off-
bandwagon pretty quickly.
They
then.
got it out of their
They didn't have the
system.
stamina.
They went
Didn't
all
like
in
those
and then
dirty Brunswick
all
share
out.
houses.
Yeah.
And then I did an improv class just to meet people. And I was really into the show Broad City at that point. So I thought that's how they met. Maybe I'll meet a friend through an improv class.
Yeah.
And then I guess that's when I started getting told like, oh, you're kind of good at this.
Yeah.
And then just slid into it more and more.
Yeah. And people just invite you like, hey, do you want to come do this show?
Yeah.
Or like, so then you start exploring other things.
Like,
and
I know a lot of male comedians really freak out when you tell them, I never really message for gigs.
yeah.
They just came to me.
Yeah. Because
Oh,
that's
yeah,
a big
right.
part of comedy. Like you have to put yourself out there to ask for gigs.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times, but then there's
In the
also
beginning,
a lot of gigs that they want a more diverse lineup other than just all these guys that are messaging. So they will
Hundreds of
actually
dudes
ask.
messaging and then
So it's
Yes.
often pretty, pretty easy. As,
the one
as a
good
female,
thing about living in a
exactly.
patriarchal society.
Exactly.
Take our perks till we get it.
We will take it. Thank you very much.
If this is what I'm offered,
Yeah.
I guess I'll cash in.
Yeah.
Very into
Well,
that
because
one.
isn't there like some saying it's because so many women don't do it because all it takes to get up or to be brave enough to do comedy is someone just saying, oh, wow, you're really funny. And a lot of people, for women, it's like that's almost seen as a dig. You're like, oh, wow, you've got a good personality or like there's something like kind of weird about it. Whereas a lot of guys will have this false like confidence because they'll be like, yeah, I was the class clown and someone told me I was funny.
Well, funny is so prized in men traditionally.
Yeah.
Whereas in women, it's a bit more of a mixed bag,
Yeah.
I find. Like, I remember when I was kind of tossing up, I was doing improv. I wasn't sure about that. I kind of wanted to move into stand-up, but I just had a big breakup. And I just kept thinking, I'll never fall in love if I'm a female comedian with a PhD that also works. I was like, that's pretty intimidating as a package.
Yeah.
I was like, do I really want to add this extra
Triple threat.
level of
Be too intimidating to any man.
I am too awesome.
Yeah.
Like the bar's too high.
And also,
Exactly.
if
You
you're
need to go
not-
down
meeting
to their
someone this
level.
awesome are really decreasing.
And if you're not awesome, then I'm gonna shit on you on stage.
Yeah.
That's the threat, right?
It's sort of tough being the partner
Yeah.
of someone who's a comedian,
To
maybe,
have,
isn't
like,
it? Because all your
tough
material.
skin. Yeah.
My partner said to me once, he was like, I don't think the comedian version of you likes the real version of me. Like, he just feels like I'm like making fun of him.
Oh,
And
wow.
was like, don't be so sensitive.
It doesn't
The real
mean
me-
anything.
The real me is really into you. Don't worry.
Yeah, the real me is really into him.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the things, it's, you know,
Say on
the
stage.
seed of something that happened
Yeah.
that you then turn into a joke. So
Yes.
it becomes something detached from the reality of what it is.
The, like ridiculous thing about comedy is like it
Yeah.
all comes down to what's funny sometimes.
Yes.
So, like often it can just be like the rudest, most shallow thing.
Yeah.
You're like, you don't really believe that,
Oh,
do you?
yeah.
But it's funny.
It's
Yeah,
funny to be
exactly.
flippant about
yeah,
the
like-
love of your life. It's not
Yeah,
funny
funny,
to
like-
be like, I'm so goo goo gaga for him.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love him so much. Oh, he makes my heart beat fast. Like,
Yeah.
that's quite
You're
hard
not
to
gonna
make
say
funny.
that.
And then people don't love a happy comedian. A lot of it's kind of an
Yeah.
irony of the job.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah,
doing
it's funny.
too
You've
well,
gotta have-
you can't just be
yeah.
like, yeah,
You
my
gotta-
relationship's
yeah.
great. I'm pretty well adjusted.
Exactly.
Yeah,
People
you've got to be
aren't
sort
going
of
to
like
like you.
sad, sad and depressed and failing.
Yeah.
And we
Then
like to
people
laugh
will
at
be
that. We
oh,
feel
I
like
can
a bit like, oh, yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, that's the bit of me
Yeah.
that I like to see
I
on
relate
stage,
to.
that I feel seen by, and
Yeah.
kind of, oh, I'm so glad that someone else has said
True,
it.
true. Someone else feels this
Yeah,
like
but nobody-
angst over this or like wants to drink Coke
Yeah.
all day.
Nobody needs to
Whatever.
feel seen in the ways they are successful. That's already being seen
Yeah.
and rewarded, you know, financially.
Yeah.
True.
Fingers
true.
crossed.
We want to be seen for the things that we like feel maybe less proud of or ashamed of or like
Yeah.
but it's still part of our identity. That's what makes us
yeah.
feel good.
Yeah.
You know, when we can like laugh along with someone else. It gives us
Yeah.
permission to like laugh at our own
Yeah.
insecurities
Or
or our
even-
own silly, you know.
Yes,
Yes.
laugh out a little bit and
Yeah.
go, thank God I'm not that bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
right. Yeah, yeah. Everyone's thinking
By
like,
comparison,
oh my God,
I
don't
seem
do that
pretty
with a
well
face like
adjusted.
that. Yeah.
Wow.
Go back to my life with a renewed sense of purpose.
Yeah.
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 Things aren't so tricky.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of fell into it.
Fell
People
into
kept asking
stand-up.
me to do gigs.
Yeah.
I kept being like, I've got no real reason to say no.
Yeah. And did you find it fulfilling, or I guess do you still find it fulfilling as juggling both things, or would you prefer to do away with the corporate like town planning, or is there still like a part of you that's like, actually I really like
Kind of
that?
likes the balance.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question because I don't know
Yeah.
because I've never been able to give
do
away
it.
the corporate
Yeah.
things. And I think at the moment, I mean, it's kind of embarrassing.
So do you still get something out of that as well? Like just
I mean,
even
just money, really.
yeah.
But money is important.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Which is
another
really-
side
yeah, I
of
need
life.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not willing, I'm 32. I'm not really willing to go back to like a grotty share house
Yes.
and, eating dip for dinner.
Yeah.
No.
Like scraping the
Baked
top of
beans.
the dip off of my housemates,
Yeah.
like so I don't have to pay for anything. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of want to have some balance.
Yes.
But I think, it's embarrassing to say at the moment, but I just feel very burnt out by the juggle. And I
Yeah.
think it's, entirely, I mean, maybe it's partially a problem with the industry, but I think a lot of it is my fault because you're your own boss and I'm a bad boss. And I'm not
Right.
good at
You're just,
giving
like, doing
myself a
too
chance
much.
to rest or because
Yes.
you're doing too
Well,
Because
it's
you're
not
also
set up for
writing
resting.
this book in there too,
Yeah.
right? So you sort of like you've got
Yeah.
3 different
Yeah.
full-time things going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
then-
mean, it's not set up, particularly the Melbourne scene, I guess, because we rotate around the festival being in here and it's seen as like, oh, you've got to do a show. So every
Yes.
year to get a new hour is crazy, like to be able to write it. And I mean, we are both definitely of the same kind of mind where you should practice.
Yeah.
Some people absolutely are
Whoa.
so good
Just
at
fly by the
writing.
seat of their
Yeah.
pants.
At writing it, and then they just do this hour show, which is its own thing, and that's a great skill if you've got it. I don't think I've got it, so
Yeah.
I want to work in my like show in bits of like, okay, I've got this like 7-minute bit and I'm confident with it. Let's move on to the next, and then it's like so you slowly build up and you get the jokes and you get it.
I mean, it's really
honed.
hard to be on stage for an hour trying to make people
Oh,
laugh.
yeah.
So it's so nice to have at
your own-
least a good chunk of it
That you're
you
confident
feel
in.
is almost muscle memory.
Yes.
And it's really built into your body
Absolutely.
and you can relax a bit while saying it
Yeah.
and take note of what's going on in the room. And
Yeah.
you still on some
Yeah,
bits
it's a
that are a bit.
rehearsed performance.
Yeah,
I mean, you
yeah.
know it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to pretend that it's not for the magic.
Yeah, but you want to be
yes, it is.
You want to be relaxed when you're saying it instead of thinking of like this imagined script kind of thing. You're just like, oh no, this is just me talking and I've just said this story before.
Yeah. And the word choice and the order and how you say a story, it all matters so much to whether it lives or dies.
Yeah.
It really does, doesn't it?
But so to keep up with that cycle of every year, and then some people, of course, in between that go to Edinburgh, and so you're not giving, like, that's not a holiday.
Yeah.
Like, you have to save up and invest all this money into going to Edinburgh, which you've done.
Can't you
as
take the
well.
same show there though? Or?
I've never taken a full show. So when I won Raw, the prize was that they send you to Edinburgh to do this next comedy competition. Because of the technicalities of when I won in the middle of the two COVID lockdowns, I got sent to Edinburgh, but I couldn't do the competition because I was deemed like...
Because it was the year before kind of thing.
Yeah, I was deemed like too experienced or... and you're like, I was in my room the whole time.
We all were.
I don't think I have a leg
skills.
On the competition.
Whoa.
So I went and I did a show with some friends.
Yeah.
Pete and Sonia Diorio, Peter Jones, Sonia Diorio, in like
Which
a
is
small
the perfect way
karaoke
to
room
kind of
for a
do
month.
it, of like a little peek into, I guess, the stamina required to
Yes.
go to a month-long festival in another country of having to sell yourself to an audience that has no idea who you are. At least here in Melbourne, you can kind of like, oh yeah, I've got like work people and a little community, and you can kind of maybe pack out a
some
couple
people
shows.
have seen me.
Who knows?
Gigs around
Sort of
town.
big time, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but Edinburgh, I mean, it did feel like a prize to come back $3,000 in debt. Because they just pay for your flights. They don't pay for anything else.
Accommodation, which is wild.
And accommodation's so expensive. And then you're like, so that's my holiday for
It's a real
year.
flaw in
Sounds
there.
a little stressful.
Yeah, really stressful. And you're like,
Yeah.
I worked every day and I lived in a shit accommodation that cost me something that would be lovely the rest of the year. It was like $3,000, $4,000.
Oh, why do we do it?
Yeah. And then all the runner-ups in that competition are like, thank God. I could not afford.
And I always
I could not afford to win.
runner-up was the better way to do it.
Yeah.
And I think in past years they'd like fundraise to help the winner with that trip, but because of
The
lockdowns and the COVID, like wasn't
unlucky
really
with that.
possible. So that's tough. And then, so now I'm really looking forward to the wedding and more the honeymoon because it's the first time I've had a holiday in years, like a proper holiday.
Yeah.
Because I have to use all of my leave in the day job, trying to balance the day job and comedy. You're always using your leave to like go trial a show in Adelaide, and you're having the worst time of your life, and you feel so in your head and anxious, and then you come back and you're working and you're doing a show every night in Melbourne, and then you get a bit burnt out doing that, so you take a few more days off. Yeah. And then you're going, I have no leave, but I've never gone on holiday. I just worked harder at the other job.
Yeah, to get more in debt.
Yeah, to get more in debt. Which,
you were living the dream.
Yeah.
and that's living the dream.
The absolute comedy.
We can have it all.
I'm sure it looks pretty cool from the outside, and that's what matters.
Just go home and suck on that face washer soaked in beer.
Yeah, that's dinner, baby.
And your fiance looks into your eyes with pure love.
Yes.
It's real.
It's real. It's real. And I go, please make some money.
Yeah.
We need
Off
it.
you pop.
We need it.
Oh.
So yeah, the balance I'm finding tricky at the moment. And I guess being at that point a few years in now where you're trying to like move it into the real thing.
I feel like that. I get bored of that, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
just
so
get bored of that
boring.
burnout feeling and bored of feeling like, not that you were sold the dream, but that you feel like you took the right steps. Like it makes you've done a lot of things
that it made
right.
sense for
You've
someone
had a
else.
sensible
because,
job. You've also
they
found your
did
passion.
this same progression.
Yeah, it's the comparative thing.
Well,
They did this and they did this, and now look at all these awards they were getting paid.
Yeah, whereas you're like, well, I'm doing the same progression, or even like in your case, you might be looking at someone else. I don't know who, but you're like, oh, well, I even won this competition, and I'm like doing these same steps, but I still have to do this corporate job to
Yeah. And like I'll tell people that I'm doing it and they're like, whoa, you still work. And I'm like, yeah. And it's a long way away from going away in terms of finances.
Financially,
Like without it
viable.
being a massive
Yeah.
step
Comedy
back.
is really different, I think, because, you know, like acting, I mean, and I'm a little older, so I've got a little more time, I guess, that I've been working away, building a career. But at least you know that you get paid when you do a few jobs, you sort of get paid, but the actor's way is you get paid and you have to stash it all away.
Yeah.
You have to save the money for
when
the
it
times
rains,
when you're
it
not
pours,
working.
and then there's a drought.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like it's floods and droughts and
Yeah.
floods and droughts.
Yeah.
And you just hope that over the course of like a long-term career, this is what I hope, that, you know, it'll balance its way out so
Yes.
that you can eke out a living. And generally, touch wood, that's like sort of worked for me. But it's very
Great.
different in comedy because it's just like a lot of smaller gigs and like really hard work
Yeah.
building all
I
of it
guess
and the
because-
writing. You don't
Yes.
get paid for the writing side of it too.
Well, yeah, sometimes
So-
you kind of feel like, yes, I'm getting paid $250 to do 10 minutes. Like, this is
Yeah.
incredible. That's got such a great hourly rate. And you're like, but if you actually factored in
Yeah.
the hours that it took you to get that
get the
10
1,000
minutes,
hours and all those trips to Adelaide to try out different material.
and you're going, this rate is terrible.
Yeah.
And it's not gone up since,
No.
you know, like the 80s.
Yeah.
There's been no wage progression or
Yeah.
no wage growth.
Yeah.
Unless you become a famous comedian and can sell out your own tours.
Yes.
And that, like, so much of it, it just feels like you're meant to kind of chase luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you can be there, you can turn up,
Yes.
and that helps.
Yeah.
Which is sort of what you were talking about. Is like you do all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that still doesn't necessarily equal that.
No.
So there's got to be like, I don't know, there's just got to be more in it. I guess otherwise we won't keep doing it. Like I know I wouldn't be able to keep doing it. Wouldn't be
No.
able to just keep giving and giving and
Yes.
giving, you know.
Yeah.
Like drawing blood from a stone thing.
Well, and this is the
So-
point I'm at the moment where you're going, okay, I can see these routes and they would maybe work to make it a career.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't really be the career I wanted or
Yeah.
like there'd still be a lot of sacrifice in it
Yeah.
in terms of like the stuff that you're doing
Yeah.
day to day.
Yeah.
True.
And so you're going, I don't know, do I try and get the balance better and then just do comedy
Yeah.
for the bits that I love about it or create for the bits that I really enjoy? Like I love the writing, I love performing.
Yeah.
I don't love the selling.
Yeah.
But, you know, you
The
can do
marketing. Yeah.
the marketing.
Yeah.
You can do a bit of that.
Yeah.
But do the things that you're interested in and not, you know, like my last show, it was kind of like, oh, I'll do a show about town planning because then I can market it towards town planners. And that will help get some tickets in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going, but I don't want to work to a niche. I want to
Yeah.
do, you know, the things I genuinely care about. And
Yes.
I don't feel like I can easily niche down into one thing. I feel like my interests are kind of
Pretty small
generalist
niche,
and
probably too, isn't it? Like,
yeah. Like, you know, your interests are so generalist and messy and
Yeah.
big, and I want to be able to convey that, but it's
Yeah.
not very marketable
Yeah.
to do so. So you kind of hit like a tension.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
interesting.
And you have to be aware of who you're marketing. Like that's one of the biggest questions when you're trying to sell yourselves to get a venue or anything. They're like, who is your audience? And so you really have to think about it of like, well, who am I trying to get? And it's often is this really weird niche of people that actually like I probably wouldn't really talk to in like daily life.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
like
but that's because it's such a broad, like a lot of people like to watch comedy who you would never normally
No.
engage with.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, listen to podcasts who we would
Yeah.
never normally like be
Yes.
friends with.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I would probably actually it's just our friends listening.
pull that back a bit.
It's actually just our friends that are listening to this podcast. But no, it's
It's
I
a
think
funny
things
thing.
often you do need to have quite broad appeal, and that's the
And some of your niches are so interesting as well. Like one of my audiences that I've really noticed in the last show is like the dads of young women.
Oh,
Like dads are
really?
just obsessed with me. Like they were all like, I saw your show. I told my daughter to go. I loved it so much. I just
so
felt like
cool.
I could understand her.
that's
and
a feel good market. Like, feels good.
Okay.
Oh wow! Wow.
Do it for the dads.
Yeah, do it for the dads.
But I don't think their daughters like it as much as they do.
Yeah, right.
You're like the daughter they wish they
I
had.
think that's it.
maybe.
They're like, all dads were like, when I was growing up and I'd go to my friend's house, and when you're doing town planning, all dads are obsessed with it.
Yeah.
They're like, that's incredible. What a stable job. You're going to be so practical. You're going to understand things. Oh, I'll be able to talk to you about the bin system or like, all these things that dads get really
Endlessly
passionate about.
fascinating.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they all loved it.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So it's
interesting.
quite an interesting dynamic. And you're like, yeah, but if I was your daughter, you'd still be presented with probably the same issues you have in your current relationship. It's not a perfect plan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think,
that's
to do something for the love of it and then try and monetize it is
It's tricky.
It's a
always
minefield.
tricky, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 So do you think overall, what would you say to like young Prue going back in, finishing school?
Yeah. I would be like, get out.
Do what?
Like do an arts degree or do a
go into something. I don't know. Just stick with the town planning. Buy a house earlier. Make some money.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would say to her right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could tell her
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
I think I'd be like, if you can find happiness not doing
Doing
it
something
and
else.
not trying to
Yeah.
monetize this thing that you enjoy and just leave, like, you can still dabble.
Just do the thing, dabble,
Yeah.
but see it as a dabble.
See it as a dabble.
Yeah.
Just treat a job as a job and a hobby as a hobby.
That's really good
Never too
advice.
something.
And then
Yeah.
you'll keep the
Keep the love, keep the spark alive too.
Yeah, but I think comedy is kind of hard as an art form to maintain, like, because there is an inherently commercial
Yes.
element to it. It's quite hard to
Yeah.
protect the art.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's
That's
also
very
a bit of
true.
a trend thing too, isn't there? Just like what people are talking about or the types of comedy people are doing. Is that a bit kind of a part of it too?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Who's popular right now and what sort of
Yeah.
comedy they have.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
There's always people
and you can see
reinventing
lots of
stuff.
other
It's
people that
like
are
music-
influenced by that
music
one
or
person.
novels or
Yeah.
anything.
And I
That's
think
true.
I was always
Filmmaking.
pretty aware that a comedy career is not a straight line upwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
you're the flavor of the month and it feels like you're getting booked at every
Yeah.
room, and sometimes like, God, I haven't heard from anyone
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
ages. And I think just having to like weather those
Yeah.
The ups
cycles
and downs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and not take them personally.
Yeah.
And just go, actually it's nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
There's a new girl that's
Yeah.
turning up and doing great comedy and
Yeah.
they're on the run at the minute.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe
Just yeah.
trying to panic less about the lulls and relax.
Yeah.
Enjoy them.
That's really good
Those are
advice
good
though.
advice.
I think that's good.
Panic less about the
panic
lulls.
less.
I think
Just
that
like
is.
have more confidence. I don't know, or try to get more confidence in yourself. That it's okay to have those lulls.
And I
It's all
think
going to
it's
be
good
okay.
and like save a bit of, don't always spend like it's always going to be like this. And I think it's good advice, beyond creative careers. Like my boss that runs the consulting firm that I work for, I really notice in him, like he's panicking when there's heaps of work on and he's panicking when there's no work and there's no
like happy point.
there's no happy point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going, okay, well, when are we going to
You got to
just
enjoy
like
some
coast?
pace.
There's got to be a bit of coasting.
Yeah.
Smell the flowers.
Yeah, we're like really busy at the moment. He's like, but we've got to get more work because after June it's dried up.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
well, let's just wait.
Let's just wait till June.
Let's deal with that hurdle when it's a bit closer and not now when you're in like the thick of it.
Yeah.
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 Well, maybe that's a bit of your
great.
comedy sort of experience coming through then to help the
Yeah, they
corporate side
definitely
of
blend.
things,
Yeah.
But at the moment, they're like, oh, can you make a marketing plan? You're so good at doing that for comedy. And you're like, oh, I hate doing it.
Yeah.
I hate doing it for comedy. And I don't want to do it professionally.
I mean, I know how to use Canva, but that's where the skills stop.
Yeah, I've got Canva and a general sense of a demand for consistency. But I can't offer you much more. I don't know the times. I don't know the SEO or whatever.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I can use Squarespace, but only a few tabs. When it gets in the weeds, don't give me too many options. Well, thanks so much, Prue.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So insightful.
Inspiteful. In spite of all the
insights. In spite of you, it's been.
In spite of Raywin. It's been
I've
really
got that
insightful.
feeling of at least I'm doing better than them.
You're a little spiteful, I've got to say.
Yeah.
Just an edge. No.
You got to keep an edge.
Yeah.
No, not spiteful at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything you want to plug?
What's your show called?
Oh, I'm taking a year off.
yes.
Having that holiday,
So
getting
nice.
married.
Oh, yeah.
Really
That
enjoying
whole thing.
it. But I mean, I have filled that time with trying to write a novel. So there's no
Yeah, a
full
real
relaxing.
glutton for
A real
punishment.
glutton for punishment.
It's like, on this holiday,
Lying
let's
on that
stress
beach
about
thinking about writing a novel.
I'll
a
be
new edit
on a
during that
train
honeymoon.
through the Norwegian fjords. These characters are driving me crazy. But if you do want to know more, you can follow me on @Prue Blake Comedy on Instagram, or I have a regular weekly newsletter, The Lowest Most Awful, on Substack.
Highly
So
recommend.
good.
Lowest,
Thank
most
you.
awful. I love reading it.
Aw,
and
thank you.
I've loved talking to you, Prue.
Oh, great to chat to you both.
Thanks, Prue.
Thanks, Prue. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you liked us, please tell a friend or two. Apparently that's how these things work. We want to acknowledge the incredible stories, culture, resilience and creativity of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities, in particular the beautiful lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nations, where this podcast is recorded. Thank you also to Chris Pickering for the music and Vincent Pickering for the logo and animations. And yes, they are our brothers. We're everywhere.